Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Friday, May 8th, 2020. A lot to do today. We'll talk about the latest with the coronavirus and how the NFL schedule made itself a little bit flexible because in case of cancellation postponement of some games, some NBA facilities reopened today. We'll recap last night's watch party episode and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then look ahead to the Disney Sing-Along Volume 2, followed by American Idol, which will be a Disney theme. We'll get into that. Last Dance, episodes 7 and 8, we'll preview that. I'll do my NHL trade value list. That was a hard list to put together, by the way, and my 2017 top 10 NHL players and games. And by the way, I'm going to do a special podcast tonight recapping the NFL schedule. Since I had so much to do on today's show, I'll do that very separately. All right, we'll get right into it. We'll talk about the coronavirus first. NBA facilities reopened today. Adrian Wojnarowski just tweeted out moments ago that in municipalities where coronavirus testing has become readily available for at-risk healthcare workers, teams opening facilities for voluntary workouts will be allowed to administer COVID-19 tests to asymptomatic players and staff. And then organizations such as the Magic, the Lakers, and the Clippers are expected to be among those able to conduct coronavirus tests of every player and staff member re-entering facilities for workouts, regardless of whether they're experienced systems or not. And then the NBA recently informed teams of a limited exception to guidelines. Essentially, the NBA will approve a written authorization from a local health authority that confirms a robust testing program in place for at-risk healthcare workers in the team's community. Then, a couple hours ago, the Woj tweeted that the Nuggets are planning to reopen the team facility for voluntary individual player workouts on Monday, not today. They were among the rumored ones to open up today, along with the Cavaliers and the Trailblazers. So, any other coronavirus-related NBA news, obviously, I'll have it for you. So, obviously, the NFL schedule came out last night, but something very important to that was said by Adam Schefter on SportsCenter last night, and how the schedule provides some flexibility in case they have to move things around, and that the Super Bowl could provide the NFL a pandemic scheduling solution. So there's obviously that rumor going around that the first 4 weeks of the season were going to be AFC versus NFC. There's AFC-NFC matchups within the first couple of weeks of the season, but not all within the first 4 weeks like the original rumor stated. So that rumor proved to be false. There's a lot of false rumors that proved to be false, and some rumors that proved to be true during the schedule release and whatnot. And one more thing from Woj regarding the NBA. Orlando has been granted written authorization from the Orange County Department of Health and approval from NBA to test its players for the coronavirus. So that's good news for the Orlando Magic, for sure. So I do think the NFL will start on time. Roger Goodell even said that he expects the season to start on time, but he is obviously aware of a situation where they have to postpone the start of the season, and that's why the schedule is very flexible for that. And the other wild card in this is that every team has the same bye week as their week 2 opponent. I saw that among the Nuggets for the schedule as well. So we'll do more schedule talk when I do my schedule podcast later. All right, now I'm going to discuss the premiere of The Watch Party. Pretty cool. There's a lot of celebrities in there. They're watching a bunch of shows such as The Masked Singer, Last Dance, The News. There's some movies. So that was fun. So the clues were The Masked Singer, Elephant, Good Morning America, On Dogs Detecting COVID-19, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Last Dance, CBS This Morning on the supposed reemergence of Kim Jong-un, RuPaul's Drag Race, and the stimulated 2020 Kentucky Derby, as well as Dr. Pimple Popper. The celebrities, Tyra Banks and her mother, Romeo and Master P, Steve Wozniak and his wife, Robert and Kim Herjavec, Curtis Stone and Lindsay Price, Meghan Trainor and her family, Joe Buck and Michelle Beisner-Buck, Sharon Kelly and Ozzy Osbourne, Rob Lowe and his family, JoJo Siwa and her mom, and Raven Simone and her family. So it's going to be a fun show. It was an interesting episode seeing everybody's reactions to the Unmasked Singers of The Masked Singer and the scene in The Last Dance of Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman. And there's a lot of kind of politics talk in there as well, with the news being a part of the celebrity watch party. And then it was fun seeing the celebrities react to the stimulated 2020 Kentucky Derby with all the past Triple Crown winners as well. And then obviously next week we'll have a different episode. Let's see if the same celebrities are in there, and we'll see what possibly different shows are a part of the celebrity watch party. Now I want to recap last night's episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It started off with the resumption of Hannibal Buress. The help was Buzzy Cohen. The charity was his own. He made it up to the $125,000 question and got it wrong. And he went home with $32,000. And then next up, Catherine O'Hara. She made it up to the $1,000 question and got it right, and then the time was up. So we'll see her next week, as well as Dr. Phil. So again, 2 celebrities on next week's episode, and that really tells you that somebody's going deep. And that obviously was proven correct last night, as Hannibal Buress went pretty deep, all the way up to the $125,000 question, although he had got it incorrect. On Sunday night, there's going to be a new Disney sing-along episode. It's Volume 2. Ryan Seacrest will host it. Volume 1 was a great hit, so ABC made a smart decision by bringing it back for another episode. The first episode was a few weeks ago, and now we have another one. Chloe and Halle, Billy Eichner, and Haley Erbert are among the celebrities in the sing-along. Obviously, the last one you saw Donny Osmond and his grandchildren. You saw Kristen Chenoweth, who I thought was the kitty on The Masked Singer. And you saw a lot of other big-name celebrities. You saw the High School Musical cast, and you'll see a lot of other celebrities involved in this episode as well. Now I'm going to preview American Idol for Sunday. I teased it at the top of the show that the theme is a Disney theme for Mother's Day. Your top 11, well, it should have been a top 10, but it was a top 11. Louis Knight, Julia Gargano, Jovan Webb, Grace Lear, Johnny West, Sophia James Wackerman, Arthur Gunn, Just Sam, Dylan James, Francisco Martin, and Michaela Phillips was the saved contestant by the judges. And now I'm going to predict who advances to the top 7. It's another 2-hour show. So there'll probably be more celebrities in this episode as well. Like we saw Darius Rucker with Luke Bryan and Charlie Puth with Katy Perry. And you saw Philip Phillips perform in the beginning of last week's show to his hit song Home. So, my top 7 predictions. And this is in no order in particular. Grace Lear. I thought she was outstanding last week. She sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland. It was very different for her, even though she's like a country girl. And I think that she's earned herself a spot in the top 7. Johnny West, who performed Faithfully by Journey last week. I think that he is one of the candidates to win the whole thing. He's very talented. Obviously, we've seen his girlfriend Margie on the show, who got knocked off in the Hollywood round, who I'm not the biggest Margie fan, but I do think that Johnny is excellent. Sophia James Wackerman, and I don't like that she changed her name from Sophia Wackerman to Sophia James, because there's already a contestant, Dylan James, on the show, and I don't know why she would change her name, but she did. And she performed In My Room by the Beach Boys last week. She has a beautiful voice, and I think she'll advance. Arthur Gunn, I think, will go through. He performed Take Me Home, Country Roads by John Denver. I was wrong about him last week. He made it through. 2 weeks ago, he sang Love and Machine by Wynomi Harris. And then I think he had a better performance this week with a reggae version of John Denver's classic song, Take Me Home, Country Roads. Next, Just Sam. She had the best performance of last week. I think she's so talented. I love her story, and I think she belongs. She performed Grandma's Hands by Bill Withers last week, and she was phenomenal. I'd be stunned if she didn't go through to the top 7. Next, Dylan James. He performed Yesterday by the Beatles. I thought it was weird that Luke Bryant didn't love his performance. I was fine with it. I think that's a beautiful song. He has a great voice. I was wrong about him a couple weeks ago, too, as he performed Let It Be Me by Ray LaMontagne. And he had a better performance this past week with the Beatles classic Yesterday. And last but not least, into my top 7, Michaela Phillips. Yes, the girl that the judges saved. I thought she was one of the best 7 performances of last weekend. She performed The House That Built Me by Miranda Lambert, and she was sensational, I thought. And this was one of her better performances of the season, and she really brought it home, and I think that she's going to get into the top 7. I won't be surprised, though, if Julia Gargano, Louis Knight, or Francisco Martin get in. Jovan Webb, I don't think was as good as he was 2 weeks ago when he performed With a Little Help from My Friends by Joe Cocker. So I do not think he will advance. Julia Gargano, I thought was very good, but like I said, I thought that 7 performances were better than hers. Like, that's not her fault. There's so much talent left. Louis Knight's amazing. I think he's come a long way. Francisco Martin's the one I felt that's come the longest way. I don't think he had a good duet round in the Hollywood, and he's really come a long way since then, and I won't be shocked if he goes through. So it should be a very interesting vote, and there are going to be 4 very good singers that go home on Sunday night. Now I'm going to preview Sunday night's 2 episodes of The Last Dance. There are unfortunately only 4 more left, which is very sad because this documentary really has got people to come together and chat on it on Twitter Live, and really we learned a lot about Michael Jordan, and we learned a lot about his ex-teammates such as Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman. We learned a lot about Phil Jackson and Jerry Krause, and a lot of inside scoop that went on during Michael Jordan's era with the Bulls. So, episode 7 is supposed to be about Michael Jordan's hunger for that 6th title, with contrasts with when he walked away from the game. So, they'll probably show him with the White Sox minor league team in this episode as well. And Jason here is supposed to be a part of that episode. And season 1, episode 8, it's obviously one season. And then the 8th episode is where Jordan motivates himself to work harder than ever to return to form. So this is probably coming off that White Sox stint back to the Bulls. So should be a fun double dip on Sunday night. And we'll obviously recap the episodes on Monday's podcast. Now I'm going to do my NHL trade value list. This was a very, very hard list to put together. There are so many honorable mentions. This is the most amount of honorable mentions in terms of the trade value lists that I've done. And that's tribute to how much talent is in the National Hockey League. So I'm going to do my honorable mentions first, and then I'm going to go to the top 100 list. There's 54 honorable mentions. That just shows how much talent there is in the league, and there's like a lot of guys on this list in both the honorable mentions and the trade value list that I think are on the come. And there's a lot of good players in the league that didn't make the list, whether it's because of injury concerns or age. So without further ado, the honorable mentions. Colin White, Nolan Patrick, Tyson Yost, Vince Dunn, Jake DeBrusk, Matt Murray, Tyson Barrie, Neil Pionk, Dougie Hamilton, Jacob Trouba, Tony DeAngelo, Shane Gostisbehere, John Klingberg, Torrey Krug, Tyler Bertuzzi, Roop Hintz, Brandon Gallagher, Anders Lee, TJ Oshie, Kyle Palmieri, Dylan Larkin, Oliver Brookstan, Jake Gensel, Jared Spurgeon, Ryan Ellis, Morgan Riley, Ryan McDonough, Alex Petrangelo, Eric Carlson, Brent Burns, Alex Galchenyuk, Max Domi, Dylan Strome, Jason Zucker, Jacob Voracek, Vincent Trocheck, Thomas Tatar, Cam Atkinson, Matt Duchene, Evander Kane, Thomas Hurdle, JT Miller, Victor Andreessen, Chris Kreider, Jaden Schwartz, Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Taves, Brad Marchand, Evgeny Malkin, Steven Stamkos, Ryan Johansson, Logan Couture, Max Pacioretty, and Blake Wheeler. Like I said, there's so many great players on this list, but this is a trade value list, not the top 100 players of the NHL list. If the top 100 players list of the NHL, then 20 of those guys I just listed in the honorable mentions would be on the top 100 NHL players list. So now, without further ado, here's my top 100 trade value guys in the league. I really didn't have groups of people like I did for the other sports, but some of them are in groups, others are just spread out randomly. The first two players are veterans that helped lead franchises to big things, whether it's Stanley Cups or, in the case of the latter name I'm going to mention, helped get a certain franchise out of the abyss, even though he's on another team now. And those two players are Anze Kopitar and John Tavares. Obviously, Kopitar's won a bunch of cups with the Kings. Well, a bunch meaning two. It feels like he's won a lot, but it's only 2 cups. And then Tavares, obviously, helped get the Islanders out of the abyss, and now is with the Maple Leafs. And he's probably not even one of their best 3 players right now, which is crazy saying that, or arguably best 2, depending on how you feel about some guys on that team. Next group of players is 2 players on the same team and 1 player that really has come into his own after being thrown in trade rumors his whole career. Braden Shen, Ryan O'Reilly, and Ryan Nugent Hopkins. Next group of guys is all defensemen. And some of them are young and entering their primes, and some of them are already in their primes. Cam Fowler, Hampus Lindholm, Jonas Brodin, Rasmus Ristolainen, Dante Fabro, Ryan Lindgren, Josh Morrissey, Colton Parayko, Matt Dumba, Oscar Clefboom, Darnell Nurse, Ivan Provorov, Thomas Chabot, Aaron Ekblad, Samuel Girard, Zach Werenski, Mikhail Sergachev, Adam Fox. That is a lot of young defensemen, and that just shows that this league is really in a great place, full of talent. Next group is 3 goaltenders, all young goalies. One of them has a Stanley Cup, one of them's on a bad rebuilding team, and the other is on a good team that's a Stanley Cup contender that has a veteran goalie that's in a contract year that is not who he once was, that goalie in the contract year. Mackenzie Blackwood, who's on the rebuilding Devils. Ilya Samsonov, who's going to replace Braden Holtby as the netminder of the Capitals. And Jordan Binghamton, who won the Stanley Cup with the Blues last year. Next group of players is all talented forwards. Some of them are in their late 20s. Some of them are in their early or mid-20s. So this is a long list that I'm about to break out. Like 25 men deep type of list. Yeah, 24, 25 guys. Jonathan Marchessault, Timo Meier, Kevin Fiala, Ricard Raquel, Riley Smith, Sam Reinhart. That's 74 through 69. 68, Nicolas Ehlers. 67, Taylor Hall. 66, Sean Couturier. 65, Bo Horvat. 64, Brock Besser. 63, Evgeny Kuznetsov. 62, Jonathan Huberdeau. 61, Gabriel Landeskog. 60, Nick Suzuki. 59, Kirby Dach. 58, Cody Glass. 57, Mark Stone. 57, Sean Monahan. 55, Elias Lindholm. 54, William Nylander. 53, Brady Tkachuk. 52, Pierre-Luc Dubois. 51, Nico Hischier. That is a lot of guys, a lot of young forwards that either haven't lived up to potential, I still believe has potential, and a lot of guys that are in their primes, that are in their late 20s and soon to be early 30s. Next group is a duet of goaltenders that have been Vezina candidates the past couple of years. 50, Connor Hellebuck, and 49, Andrei Vasilevsky. Next group of guys, only 2 defensemen in their primes and are in their 30s but are still very awesome. Olivier Ekman-Larsson and Drew Doughty. Next group of guys is a couple of young forwards who are coming into their own or already in their primes. 46, Tyler Seguin. 45, Alexander Barkov. 44, Alex DeBrincat. 43, Matthew Barzal. 42, Mika Zibanejad. 41, Travis Kelce. 40, Philip Forsberg. 39, Kyle Connors. That's 8 guys. A lot of them have broken out this past year. Some of them guys are up and coming. Next group of guys, 4 players, all top lottery picks, all top 2 picks in the respective draft years. 2 of them are recent draft picks, or actually 3 of them are, and then one of them is recent, but not as recent as the other 3 on this list. In this group on this list, I should say. 4 players. 38, Andrei Svechnikov. 37, Capo Capo. 36, Jack Hughes. 35, Patrick Laine. Next group of players, all defensemen. 4 guys in their primes. 34, Victor Hedman. 33, John Carlson. 32, Roman Josi. 31, Shea Theodore. Next group of players, 3 goaltenders, all young and controllable. All are going to be superstar goalies. 30, Elvis Merkskolins. 29, Igor Shesterkin. 28, Carter Hart. All these guys are going to be superstars, and the irony is that they're all in the same division. These guys are going to be so good, and are going to be leading these teams to good things for years to come. Next group of guys, 4 players, all superstars right now, all late prime guys that are just aging but deserve props. Well, some of them are aging, some of them, one of them, or a few of them are still young. 4 guys, 27 Claude Giroux, 26 Alex Ovechkin, 25 Sidney Crosby, 24 Patrick Kane. If this was the best players of the NHL list, obviously these guys would be higher than this, but it's a trade value list, and all these guys are making big bucks, and that's why they're lower than a lot of these young guys I'm about to talk about. And you could bank it that all 4 of these guys are going to be Hall of Famers. Next group of guys, 3 forwards, 23 Matt Tkachuk, 22 Mark Sheffley, 21 Vladimir Tarasenko. Tarasenko, people should say, should be lower because he's coming off the injury. But from what I heard lately is that once the season comes back, he will be back and better than ever. Tkachuk's on the rise. Mark Sheffley, I think, is very underrated in this league. Next group of players is 5 young defensemen that are going to be flat-out franchise-changing superstars. Actually, no, 6 defensemen. I miscounted. And now we're in the top 20. So 20 through 15, like I said, all young defensemen that are franchise changers. 20 Quinn Hughes, 19 Miro Heiskanen, 18 Charlie McAvoy, 17 Seth Jones, 16 Cale Makar, 15 Rasmus Dahlin. Like I said, all these guys are excellent, and they're going to be stars to come, and some of them are stars already. And then the top 14, the utterly untradables. 14, Braden Point, 13, Mitch Marner, 20, Johnny Gaudreau, 11, Sebastian Aho, 10, Elias Pettersson, 9, Mikko Rantanen, 8, Nikita Kucherov, 7, David Pastrnak, 6, Artemi Panarin, 5, Jack Eichel, 4, Austin Matthews, 3, Leon Draisaitl, 2, Nathan MacKinnon, and number 1, no doubt about it, the best player in the NHL, Connor McDavid. So there you have it, my trade value list. Spring 2020. I'll probably do another one in the fall when they're in the off season, and the same for the NBA. Now I'm going to do my 2017 NHL top 10 players. A couple honorable mentions for you before I do the actual list. Braden Holtby, obviously a big part of the Capitals being the 1 seed in the playoffs that year, although they lost, and then they wound up winning the Cup in the 17-18 season. Pekka Rinne of the Predators helped lead the Preds to the Stanley Cup Final in 2017. And Claude Giroux, who the Flyers did not make the postseason in 17, but he helped them get there in 2018. And now, without further ado, my top 10 NHL players of 2017. 10, Nathan MacKinnon of the Avalanche. Avs didn't make the playoffs in 17, but they made it in 18, and his breakthrough is a huge part of that. 9, Alex Ovechkin. Still today, the dominant goal scorer he is. 8, Nikita Kucherov, Tampa Bay Lightning. This was his coming out party in 17. Although the Lightning did not make the postseason, but they ended up making it in 18. 7, Brad Marchand, Boston Bruins. Helped lead the Bruins to the postseason for the first time after a couple-year drought there. And then helped lead the Bruins back to the postseason in 17-18. 6, Brent Burns, San Jose Sharks. The Sharks did not make the postseason in 17, but he was just dominant that season. And then in the 17-18 season, they bounced back and made it. 5, Patrick Kane. Or no, they missed it in 18 and made it in 17. It was one or the other. I don't remember. Patrick Kane's number 5 on the list. The Blackhawks, their last postseason appearance was in 2017. But other than getting swept by Nashville, he was just dominant in the regular season, the end of that season, and then into the 17-18 season. 4, Sergei Bobrovsky, Columbus Blue Jackets, really single-handedly got the Blue Jackets to the postseason in the 17-18 season. 3, Erik Karlsson, Ottawa Senators. This is because he single-handedly got the Senators to the conference finals, and I said this multiple times on my podcast. I think that Carlson is the reason they got there and his dominant play. But I still feel that their opponents in the first and second round, respectively, the Bruins and the Rangers, had overlooked the Senators because of the rest of their roster. 2, Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh Penguins helped lead the Penguins to repeat Stanley Cup champions, and although he wasn't that great in 17-18, but winning the cup matters. And number 1, Connor McDavid, was there any doubt? Helped lead the Oilers to the postseason in 2017, and then 18 they didn't make it, but he was still the dominant guy he's been since he stepped foot in the National Hockey League. Now I'm going to do my 2017 NHL Top 10 games. A couple of honorable mentions, all regular season games in the honorable mentions. Predators Bruins on October 5th of the 17-18 season was a 4-5 Bruins win. Knights Capitals on October 6th. It was the first game in Vegas Golden Knights history, which wound up being a preview of the Stanley Cup Final, and nobody thought it at the time. 2-1 Vegas win. And then the Lightning against the Golden Knights on December 19th, which was a 4-3 Golden Knights win, as Shea Theodore got the go-ahead goal in the final seconds of regulation. And now my top 10 NHL games of 2017, all postseason games, all overtime games. That is sort of the theme of my NHL games list, because there's nothing better than Stanley Cup playoff hockey in overtime. Number 10, Rangers-Canadiens Game 2, 4-3 Canadiens overtime win on a goal by Alexander Radulov, who did not make the list because obviously he's somebody that's aging a little bit. And I mean the list says in the trade value. 9 Sharks-Oilers Game 1 is a 3-2 San Jose overtime win. Bruins-Senators is 8th from Game 2. 4-3 Ottawa comes back and wins. 7th place Ducks-Predators Game 4. 3-2 Ducks overtime win. Blues-Wild Game 5 in the first round. 4-3 Blues overtime win as the Blues advanced. 5th place Rangers-Canadiens Game 5, 3-2 Rangers overtime win by Mika Zibanejad in the first round. 4th, Rangers-Senators Game 2. Senators come back from a big deficit to beat the Rangers 6-5 in double overtime on a goal by Juan Gabriel Pago, who absolutely dominated that playoff run for the Senators as well. 3, Bruins-Senators Game 6, 3-2 Senators overtime win that send them to the second round. 2nd place, Capitals-Maple Leafs Game 6, 2-1 Capitals overtime winner. I believe the goal was by Nicholas Backstrom, which sent the Caps to the second round. And 1st place, Senators-Penguins Game 7, 3-2 Penguins double overtime win that sent the Penguins to the Stanley Cup Final for the second consecutive year, as they went on to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. So that's it for the show today. I'll be back later on with a recap of the NFL schedule and going over all the primetime games and see how I did with my predictions. And obviously I'll be back on Monday recapping Sunday night's Disney show, American Idol, and The Last Dance. I'll do my 2014 NFL redraft. I'll be doing my 2016 top 10 songs. So we'll go back to pop culture countdowns for next week. So that should be a lot of fun. And any other coronavirus or just regular sports news that I have for you, I'll have it on the podcast on Monday. Hope you guys have a great weekend, everyone.